on male and female. But there are people who do not want to identify with a particular gender. So that is why in Western world, the concept of he and she is also getting very blurred. So companies use focus groups and in-depth interviews to understand how customers feel about an existing brand or a product. So they could conduct a survey on the type of shampoo, whether it is effective or not. And then the application is that this helps businesses tailor market their strategies and also help in their product design. So consumer behavior and brand perception is one field where there is a huge application. And there are agencies like ad agencies. They conduct these types of research and then they come up with some conclusions. Customer experience and service improvement is another area of business and marketing where qualitative research is used. Airlines often conduct interviews of passengers and they want to have a feedback on their travel experiences. So you must have noticed that whenever you take a flight, after a flight, you get an email asking for a feedback. Similarly, if you take Ola or Uber cab, after the cab ride is over, you get a form or a feedback form where they ask you to provide your feedback. So it helps the companies to improve customer service and loyalty programs, and they can also adjust their pricing policies or strategy. Advertising and message testing is another area. So ad agencies, what they do is they prepare an ad and then they conduct focus groups to test whether an ad campaign is good enough, whether it is effective or not. So they have, before finally launching the ad, this type of analysis is carried out. A focus group of a target audience is asked to comment on the ad. You must have seen one ad of, I think there is an ad where the lady says to her husband who has died that आप बिना insurance लिए नहीं चलेंगे. Now, what I have noticed is that that was a negative type of campaign. So now they have revised their campaign, although this one is also coming, but they have revised the campaign. Now the campaign is that the lady whose husband has died is conversing with the agent of the insurance company and telling him that it is very nice of you that you have had told my husband to go for this insurance policy. And now we are able to survive after his death in a very better manner. So this, I think they might have come up with this idea only after interacting with certain people, because sometimes the ads are negative in the sense, and the ad companies, they take off those ads. Now in hospitals also, we also have experienced that whenever a relative of ours is admitted to a hospital, there are personnel who come to the attendant of the patient and they ask them to fill these feedback forms. So the purpose is to improve the patient care and hospital policies. So patient experience and quality care, there also, based on the interviews, they collect these data and the views basically. So this is all text. It's not numerical values. Now data collection techniques. Interviews is one major technique. Then there are focus groups. So you can have a group discussion. Then there are observations. Observations can be in open or in natural setting, or it could be a secret type of observation. Then case studies. Case studies is where we look at a particular issue in a we look at a particular issue in detail. Ethnographic means we look at some cultural issue in detail, and the researcher immerse them in some setting, in some cultural setting for a long period of time. That is what we mean by ethnography. So a study on student learning experience. So students can be interviewed, and then they can also be observed in actual classroom to know their behavior. So there can be sometimes a combination of these data collection techniques that are employed in order to carry out our qualitative data analysis. So these are some of the techniques, and we will discuss these techniques in some detail. First of all, in-depth interviews. So as you know, the interviews refer to direct verbal exchange between a researcher and a respondent. Now, the interview can have different formats. One is structured, means there are a set questions. Set questions. For example, what are main challenges in your job? So the respondent can mention 1 or 2 challenges or 3 challenges, and those challenges can be noted down. Questions could be semi-structured, having some flexibility. For example, this interviewer can ask, can you describe a typical work day? So he can describe a typical work day, and there is some flexibility there. Unstructured simply is there is an open-ended conversation where the respondent can tell about their experiences at work in whatever way they like. Okay, so there is a large amount of flexibility here. The question is an open-ended question, so they can express their views freely. In questionnaire, basically, in questionnaires which are sent by email, normally we try to have only structured questions where we ask the respondent to pick some objective type, some choices from multiple choices, some choice from multiple choices. Now, these are some of the best practices for conducting interviews. First thing is that you should build rapport with the participant, make them comfortable. Okay. So building rapport means making them comfortable, and then you should also be using open-ended questions. Do not force certain questions which have a very specific answer. So open-ended question I told you is one example is, can you describe your experience at workplace? Okay. So the question should be largely open-ended if you are doing face-to-face interview. And also the record and transcript of the responses should be accurate. Nowadays, actually, sometimes the interviews are recorded, then it's not a problem. But when an interview is carried out on a larger scale with say many 100 people, maybe the interviewer is not able to record. In that case, he should record and transcribe the responses accurately. Avoid leading questions. Leading questions are those questions which are forcing or suggestive in nature, and they force the respondent to answer in a particular manner. For example, if you ask a question, don't you think online learning is stressful? In this case, you are suggesting the respondent to answer that yes, it is stressful. You are not giving him the flexibility. So, best practice for conducting interview is to avoid leading questions that suggest an answer in itself. Okay. So, Instead of asking, don't you think online learning is stressful? You can ask, how has online learning impacted your studies? So now he or she can automatically tell that it has been stressful or it has been very demanding. So leading question should be avoided. So this was all about interviews. Then we can have focus groups. Another method of collecting data is the focus group. So there group discussions are carried out. So a guided discussion with 5 to 10 participants on a specific topic. Guided in the sense that you ask a particular question and after that you get the views of the group and you again come to the next question, and then in a smooth manner a number of questions are put up and group is asked to answer the questions. So what is the purpose of a focus group? To capture diverse opinions and interactions. So you can have a focus group and ask people about electric vehicles, for example. What do they think about electric vehicles? Because electric vehicles have their advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that it doesn't require electricity. It is user friendly. It does not emit carbon monoxide. So pollution levels will be very low. There is no pollution as such. But at the same time, you cannot run it for long distances. Battery has to be recharged for every 200 kilometers maximum. So that is a problem. So a focus group with customers discussing their experience with electric cars is one area where a focus discussion can be carried out. Correct? Okay. So there are certain advantages and challenges of focus groups. Advantages are encourages diverse participation and interaction. It's an efficient way to gather multiple viewpoints at the same time. But there are some disadvantages. Some voices may dominate the discussion. There are certain people who are a little shy. There are certain people who are very extrovert. They are not shy. They keep on speaking and without giving a chance to others to speak sometimes. So that is not a good thing. Not suitable for sensitive topics. So if you are discussing personal topics, then focus group is not the way to do it. Okay. Interviews can be one-to-one, and there you can discuss a topic which is personal in nature. But in focus groups, personal topics are not discussed. You have to discuss some topic which is general in nature and which is not at all personal. For example, discussing about electric vehicles. Okay, there is nothing personal in it. So product testing focus group can also be there, discussing reactions to a new smartphone design. So what do you think about a particular software, iPhone or a Samsung phone? What are the features you like? All these things can be discussed in focus group.